kids, and welcome back to the Brockopp side. Today we got ourselves a Blu-ray review for Hulk, the 2003 movie, now in glorious 4K. Yeah, so when I found out they were re-releasing the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk movie to 4K, I was actually kinda surprised at that because, well, you know, with the Hulk being in the MCU now, and you know, everyone loving that version, I kinda thought that Universal and Marvel might just kinda wanna push this movie to the side, but now they decided to release a new home video version with even more pixels. So anyway, this was only like $20 at Best Buy, so I figured, hey, yeah, I'll pick it up, and yeah, this movie actually has severe sentimental, nostalgic value to me because I was just a young lad when this movie came out back in 2003, so I do have quite a bit of nostalgia towards the movie, so I figured, hey, why not pick up the next highest resolution version, because I also have the movie on DVD, and Blu-ray, so why not just complete the set and get to 4K? You know, something that's actually kind of weird, this is actually the first Blu-ray review I've done in a couple weeks that isn't a steelbook, this is just a regular old 4K. Kind of a nice change of pace because, well, I could finally go back to saying, you know, if we take off Mr. Slipcover here, felt good to do that, so then if we just open it up, see like that over here, you got your 4K disc and your Blu-ray disc. Again, using the same cover art, which I don't mind because I think it works very, very well. And of course, here's the digital download copy code. If it gets it first, you can have it. Enjoy yourself, or at least you better. You better not waste this code either. It'll make me angry. And you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. So before we go any further, I'll tell you my quick thoughts on this movie itself, because, you know, the movie's been out for over, 15, 16 years now, and of course I wasn't reviewing movies back in 2003, because I was too young, and also YouTube didn't even exist back then. But yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do have some serious sentimental, nostalgic childhood feels for this movie. You know, I remember watching this just so many times, you know, just the opening previews on the DVD and the menu are just, they're so permanently burned into my memory. I can just hear it, close my eyes, and I can just perfectly picture all of it, you know. And you know, this movie, it's definitely one of those childhood movies that when you come back to it as a young man in your 20s, it doesn't really hold up as well as it did when you were a young one, but, you know, I still think there are some really good things about this movie. You know, I think Ang Lee did have some interesting ideas with his directing technique here. You know, he does the action scenes very well, but, you know, one of the biggest complaints about the movie is the way it's edited. You know, he was trying to emulate the feel of a comic book, you know, with multiple panels going on. Sometimes, you know, they wipe away and things like that, which I feel like it was effective in some areas, but other times just kind of got in the way and just kind of seems like something you would do in Windows Movie Maker, not for a, you know, $100 million movie. But right, I was supposed to be saying positive things. Oopsie doosey. Well, to begin with, Danny Elfman's score for this movie is absolutely fantastic. You know, back when Danny Elfman was making really good comic book themes like the Raimi Spider-Man movies he was doing at the same time, and, you know, the Batman theme from, you know, a couple decades earlier. So this score was fantastic. I love how it's got this dark, mysterious kind of feel to it. It doesn't have like this overly French horn heavy triumphant feel to it, but I just really like how the Hulk theme goes in here, and I really wish they would have brought that back. But you know, when a new composer comes around with a new installment, you gotta do some new stuff, I suppose. But I actually kind of prefer this Hulk over Edward Norton's Hulk. I think Mark Ruffalo is the best Hulk overall, even though he's kind of a bit goofier than he really should be. But this Hulk right here, this Hulk scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, especially that first scene where he appears and he's in the lab, it's all dark and he's destroying the place. That scene still gives me nightmares to this day. Sometimes I'll be having these dreams where I'm in the lab with Bruce Banner, and then suddenly he'll turn into the Hulk and start smashing things, and then I gotta run for my life and nobody can catch me. That's been going on since I was like 5, 6 years old, and still keeps coming back. I should probably see a therapist about that. You know, there's some other stuff that people heavily criticize this movie for, you know, like some of the CGI not holding up as well as it did back in 2003, which I do think some of it actually does hold up quite nicely. You know, like the Hulk when he's like, you know, smashing things and fighting the Hulk poodles. I think that part is pretty cool, you know. I think the Hulk, though, definitely looks the best when he's, you know, at night, in the dark, you know, high contrast, lots of shadow. Because in the scenes, you know, where he's out in the desert fighting the tanks and stuff, it's, not quite as believable, unfortunately. So anyway, as far as picture and sound quality goes, this movie does look and sound very, very good in 4K. You know, it's definitely one of those movies where everything is just a bit crisper, a little bit cleaner, richer colors, deeper blacks. You know, kind of the usual business as far as, you know, 4K transfers go. And it looks really, really good for the most part. But one of the downsides to rewatching a movie like this, you know, from more than a decade ago where CG is not quite to where it is today, some of the CGI that didn't hold up greatly then is definitely a little bit, you know, amplified here, you know, like a couple scenes with Hulk in the daytime and a few other things like that. So that's just kind of one of the checks and balances of watching an upgraded 4K movie from a movie that was, you know, more than a decade old, is that there are going to be some imperfections and just some things that don't look as good as you maybe remember it just because of the extra pixelation and, you know, all the things and some other things and some stuff that I'm not really sure what to talk about anymore, so let's just move on with it. So before we wrap things up, there's one more thing about this particular re-release of Hulk that I do definitely want to talk about. It's something that also applies to the Blu-ray release of this movie. Now, there's one thing that these two editions have in common that makes it actually kind of inferior to the DVD copy. I know, I can't believe I'm saying that, but there's one thing about these two copies that just makes this feel slightly inferior. Only slightly, but just slightly. And that would be, my dudes, that if you have the 2-disc special edition DVD copy of Hulk, on the second disc, if you put this into an original Xbox, you can play a level from the Hulk tie-in video game. Now that, I don't know how many people had original Xboxes growing up. I did. I was like the only one I knew. Everyone else had GameCubes and shit, but I had the original Xbox. So I would just pop the second disc in and play a level of the Hulk game, and that's just really cool. You don't see stuff like that anymore, you know? You're not gonna go and buy, you know, Avengers Endgame on 4K and get a demo level for the, you know, new Avengers game for PS4, you know? So it's just one of those really cool things that gives me some, once again, some more sentimental value, and, you know, it's just one of those things I think is really cool about the DVD release and why I will always hang on to it. But that's really, it was just kind of that thing. Otherwise, the 4K and the Blu-ray are great. So, those are my thoughts on the Hulk 4K Blu-ray. If you guys picked up this movie, or if you've, you know, seen it since 2003, or if you think Nick Nolte is gonna turn into an evil morphing monster and attack you tonight, let me know it down below, and we'll see you on the Brockopp side.